Hi, and welcome to Source Seers. I'm Love.
And I'm Tylen. We're two Los Angeles-based witches who were brought together by fate with one mission.
To translate wisdom from Source and provide spiritual knowledge for the collective.
We're here to explore psychic stories, pop culture predictions, trauma healing, ancient knowledge, astrology, tarot, and so much more.
Source Seers is here to shine the spotlight on how the mystical realms are interwoven into the very fabric of our everyday lives.
Yeah!
Hello.
Hi, Source Seers.
So, guess what? We have another update.
It's just
Although
never-ending
it'll be
tea.
like 2 weeks old at this point when we share it, but we just want to pat ourselves on the back when we're correct. I'm just kidding. Well, you were like, this feels controlling, this feels intense, and then there's like rumors that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have separated, or they're like living in separate like homes, and like she's a new mother, so that's like a lot to like choose to separate from someone. There must be something really intense going on at the home. And then Tylen just shared with me there's like these text messages between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively.
Pretty much where she's calling herself a ball buster. So she says, if you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. It's my love language. Spicy and playfully bold, never with teeth.
And they're like
a text message.
It's like a text message thread where they're talking about like shooting a scene and how they want how Justin like and Blake are approaching her character in the movie for the It Ends With Us movie. And like it's kind of weird because like she's saying like all this stuff about like wanting to act it out and like wanting to get to know each other more, like trying to explain who she is. And like Justin is just like, cool, like we'll talk about it at work. Like I'm going through a lot of stuff at home right now that's really rough.
He literally just says like, sorry, was just crying my eyes out as kids and family just left for another 5 weeks and it was a shit show.
Like he's literally like, I can't even think about this. Like, just please bring it when we're ready to work, you know?
Such
like,
a Mercury Capricorn way of responding to being like, yo, like we have to keep this professional and be efficient in our communication with one another, and I'm not gonna play into this like weird flirty dynamic that
and like every time he responds he's like giving like a full sentence that's like, we'll talk about this in some way, or this is how it relates to the movie in some way.
He does use a lot of red hearts, but I think that might just be
his vibe.
I also, when I'm messaging you,
I heart everything.
I like to use the green heart.
I use the sparkle one, the pink one with the sparkle. Although, like, for efficiency, I'll sometimes use the red heart just because I don't want to go the extra mile to change it.
So, there's that. I mean, it just seems very odd, her behavior in
It's
this
almost
dynamic,
like she seems, like, too eager to, like, do the work at hand. She's like, let's film that super intense sexual abuse scene. I'm really excited for that. Like, it's just, like, kind of weird, you know?
It is a little bit. It's off-putting, and I am really happy that he saved these messages and, like, saved the...
Very Scorpio.
Yeah, his response to it, because it really is showing that he's not playing into the flirty kind of energy that she's clearly portraying.
Yeah, because she's like, that's how I am. That's my love language. And then he's like responding like, great, that's how I envision the character to be. Like, I'm glad that you can bring these parts to the character. That's why I wanted to work with you and have you play this character. You know, like he's not like, oh, tell me more. Like, you're like this. You know, like it doesn't feel like he's like buying into like what she's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of weird that she's like already has the part and is like, this is why I'm like this, you know, like why do you need to, I don't know, go the extra mile? It's giving the energy it's giving is like teenage girl that wants to seem older than who she is.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, I'm only 16, but like I've like slept around. Like I'm like, don't worry, I'm comfortable with that stuff, you know? Like it's like, I don't know. That's what it's giving.
Like it's almost like she's like, I wish that you would know me for longer. So
yeah.
you know.
Yeah. She's like, if you knew me, like this is who I am. And it's like, I don't need to know you for you to show up and do your job. Like you can bring all that you are to this acting role, but you don't need to like convince me that that's who you are, you know? I don't know. It is kind of weird. It doesn't seem like, at least it doesn't seem super sexual to me, what she's saying and like what she's communicating.
Yeah.
But I feel like she's just like very enthusiastic and like very eager. And he's just like, okay, cool, you know, like
it's giving flirty though. I don't think it's giving like super sexual, but it's giving flirty vibes. And the other part of this is Justin reached out to Ryan directly. Like they're showing a thread where he reaches out to Ryan and is pretty much just saying like, hey Ryan, Justin Baldoni here, the guy who brought like some baggage in. I'm not sure what the baggage is about, what he's referring to in this text, but he's pretty much saying, I asked Blake for your number, wanted to text you for a while, something about his wife, but pretty much just like wanting to check in with Ryan to be like, I guess man to man of, here I am, I'm doing this work with your wife. And then Ryan pretty much responds and is like, thanks for the loving, generous message. We're big fans. He pretty much says like, I happen to adore you, Justin.
Yeah. I feel like Justin was like, hey man, like don't want you to feel weird about this new relationship that we have. Like I also would like to be your friend. So it's like I'm including the husband in this and making the husband feel like supported and part of this, that the husband is not getting like cut out of the relationship. Like he says that like he's only friends with other female friends that like his wife is also friends with. Like he's saying like, I live in a world of full transparency and like that's just how I prefer, which I feel like is a little weird. Like you should be able to be an adult and have friends with who you want to have if you trust your partner. But I feel like him having so many Scorpio placements, he probably feels like I really need to like make it very obvious that like I'm not trying to read into this. I'm not trying to make, you know, because people over sexualize Scorpio placements.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, so like maybe he's experienced that in the past where like someone is into him and like the partner feels blindsided or whatever, some weird situation. So I think it was very like professional of him to be like, hey man, like I was a little nervous to reach out to you, but like I want to say that we can be friends too. Like it's not just me and Blake. Here you go.
Yeah, I think that was really smart of him to reach out. And then Ryan's response seemed super friendly, like saying like, oh, like I adore you to Justin.
I mean, I feel like he was just like vibing off of whatever Blake was vibing from. Like, we're super excited to do this role and be in this movie. Like, cool. You know, like we're happy to work with you. We've been wanting to work with you professionally. I don't know, like I feel like it's kind of weird that Justin felt that he had to do that in the first place. Because it's like, we're friends and I'm reaching out to you, but, like, this is a movie. Like, they were working professionally on a project. Like, why do you feel like it's necessary to do this? Unless you're starting to develop a friendship with Blake and you feel like that part is awkward.
That's what I'm a little confused about. What's the baggage that he brought into the meeting? Like, that's...
The guy? He said it was some guy.
The guy who he's saying, hi, I'm the guy that brought some of this baggage into the meeting with your wife.
Well, he says literal baggage. So I feel like he could be talking about just like actual things. I don't know.
Like was there disagreements happening with how the movie was being portrayed, different editing things? Was that the baggage?
Well, he's also talking about what's going on at home in the text messages with Blake. So maybe he's referring to that. Like, oh, I'm bringing my personal shit into work in this meeting because I'm just going through a rough time. Yeah. And I feel like he's trying to say, like, I'm not trying to emotionally connect with your wife and have, like, some emotional affair. I'm just going through a lot and I just want to let you know. Like that's maybe what he's saying. Yeah. Like don't read into it.
We're not sure about what the
the baggage.
actual baggages, but I think that that's sort of a way for him to sort of clear any doubt that Ryan may have been having about the nature of their relationship, especially if he's picking up Blake's phone and seeing that she's sending these messages of like spicy and playfully bold, it's my love language, flirty and yummy, like all these things, like like I don't know, maybe he didn't want Ryan to perceive it in any way that it's not by sending that.
Also weird that Blake is like saying like, I'm so excited, like I love the work that we're gonna do. Like, you're acting in a movie where you're sexually abused. You're really excited to do this work? Like, I don't know. I mean, it can be like, I feel like there's a point where you're like, I'm excited to bring this to the screen and to raise awareness for this or something. But I don't know, just kind of weird that she's like, I'm excited for like the stuff that we're gonna do together. It's just like for the scene where like I'm sexually abusing you, like I wouldn't be excited about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know everyone's acting process, but it's kind of weird.
Yeah, that level of excitement is a little weird, and also to be so excited about the flirting scenes and the
like, oh, I get to bring this part of myself to the, I don't know, like, why do you need to, I don't know, super weird.
That's just a update. I mean, why is she referring to herself as a ball buster too? Like, that's
maybe she's trying to say like she calls things out, or she has intense energy, and to not like take it anyway, like, because they were saying like they wanted the character to be like empowered and strong, so maybe she's like, I'm a ball buster. Maybe that, I don't know.
Oh my gosh, the other one is she says, I'm just pumping in my trailer if you want to work out our lines, and then Justin says, copy, eating with crew, and we'll head that way. And then Blake Lively said, take your time. And
then they used that whole thing as like, oh, he came into the trailer when she was breastfeeding.
Oh,
they used
that's key, yeah.
They did use that as like inappropriate behavior that he did. But she texted him first saying, come into the trailer while I'm doing this. Like, she's saying it's not a big deal, but then they used that as like inappropriate behavior on his behalf.
Whoa. Okay, well, Justin, good on you for...
Facts. That's very Capricorn too, right?
Yeah, like, so, I mean, looking at the way he's responding is such a Mercury, like being ruled by Mercury Capricorn. He's very like direct, to the point, efficient in what he's saying. He's not like coming in with these like super long messages.
Unless he needs to.
Yes. Yeah, like, whereas she kind of can have these like longer messages, lots of like laughing emojis, all these things. So... I don't know. Yeah. Like, even that, like, he didn't even want to respond to that. Like, he's like...
He's put in emojis.
Yeah. Fun. Yeah, and also he's like, fun isn't the right word. Like, it's... It's not fun to write about these things that are super traumatic.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like she's like, everything is fun and flirty, and he's like, I have some shit going on with my family. I have a lot of scheduling with the movie. Like, I'm trying to maintain these tight schedules and deadlines and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I can't wait to run this with you.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. So I'm not an actor in that way, so.
The tea continues, and we'll see how it plays out. All we can do is just hope that the aligned truth comes to the surface, and that if there is justice that needs to be served, it will be.
That they learn, they move forward, the right people, get their time, get their spotlight.
Yeah.
But that was just our little update corner on this drama that we have included ourselves in.
We're so into it. The discovery with Justin and Ryan's
that I think is the crux of the entire thing.
We were like, this is a bombshell. Like, how is no one talking about this?
Yeah. And I feel like it's so interesting, even though their sun signs, like, one isn't he like Libra and the other one is Aquarius, right? Mm-hmm. It's like they're still fixed. They're still air signs. But yeah, it's like maybe she likes the fixed air better. Like with Justin. I don't know. Because, like, Libra is, like, cardinal.
It is Ryan.
I think he's a Libra sun, yeah. I think that's what his chart is.
Well, his ruling planet was his Mercury in Libra.
Oh, that's what it... But I think he's also a Libra sun.
But, let's see. Because I can't remember what his sun placement is.
It's like, it's loading.
He's a Scorpio.
Oh, Scorpio sun.
Yeah,
okay.
I was like, that doesn't sound right.
So it is both fixed energy.
Yeah.
Could see that.
Yeah, because he's got this whole Scorpio stellium happening.
The Libra is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Like,
I was playing with the muses. That's why I was like, all this other random stuff is in here. Have you ever seen the muses in your chart? Do you know where you have the muses? Okay, that'll be a whole other episode. We'll talk about the 9 muses and how to pull them up in your chart.
As long as you let me sing the Hercules songs.
I will go the distance.
No, the muses. We are the muses.
That one.
Dude, fucking, that is my least favorite song in the movie. I'll go to the distance. That's one I could throw out and never look at.
Oh my God,
the entire soundtrack has me in a chokehold, and the muses is why.
Wait, how does that song
Gospel
go?
Music.
I can hear it in my head.
Back when the earth was new.
Yes!
So good. So good. It's like every time it comes on my shuffle, I'm like, I have to listen to the whole album. I'm like, I need to. The muses have me. They got me.
Oh my gosh, that'll be fun then to discover where you
what my
have
muses are. Imagine
muses.
it's like all the ones from the movie. I'm like, yes.
I actually have a lot of like tight conjunctions with the muses, which is learning about that. I was like, oh, this makes so much sense why I have all of this creative energy, because I have it in all these different facets. And
maybe I do have that because I have a lot of creative energy.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for Update Corner. Finally, we're going to talk about what the episode title says.
Yes. So, we're going to get into the Akashic Records.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about the past life stuff last week, where we used the Akashic Records to channel that stuff. So we figured we've been talking about the Akashic Records for so long. So many episodes. Not that we have that many episodes, but I'm exaggerating.
We actually do have a lot in the
bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna cover what is the Akashic Records, like how does it work, where is it, why does it exist, who takes care of it, how is it organized, and then we'll talk about like what it looks like, how different people can experience and work with it, connect to it, how you can connect to it, and then how we perceive it, how we connect to it, experiences or things, like what you can like what information you can access in there, like ethics, all different types of things. And yeah, whatever other stuff we find is important to add to the story. So yeah,
what are the Akashic Records? Let's just start there.
Yes.
The foundational piece. So the way that I view the Akashic Records is they essentially are the library of our soul's history. And the way that I imagine it is, we all have the spirit scribe, and they're documenting everything in our soul's history. And I experience that personally when I go into the records through my clairvoyance and clairsentience. Like, I get very strong images, and usually they're associated with emotions and feelings. And in my experience, the records can be very symbolic, and it is sort of an art form similar to reading tarot or working with astrology, where I'm receiving this information and then I am the artist interpreting some of this information that is being given to me. But yeah, I really see it as this whole library. I personally experienced the Akashic Records in a different way than how it was taught to me. So it was taught to me that the records are physically stored in the Pleiades. And when I tapped into that psychically, my guides immediately were like, no, and actually discouraged me from using the prayer that I had learned originally to access the Akashic Records. So now I have my own prayer that I work with, and my guides like channeled it to me in like literally like a minute. It was there. So they describe it to me that essentially the earth, because we're here in the earthly realm, it is our portal to access the Akashic Records, because essentially they're held in a dimensional field that has access to the entire multiverse. And so we actually wouldn't be able to physically pinpoint a location and say that it's there in the Pleiades, because it's a dimensional frequency, and it has information on, again, the essence of our soul. And for a lot of us that are incarnate now here on the earth, we don't just have lifetimes on the earth. Like, we have lifetimes elsewhere, in other bodies and other galaxies. And so that's the way that I personally work with the Akashic Records, as the earth, as my entryway, because I really believe in working with the Akashic Records to receive guidance that can be integrated in the present moment, right? So I don't personally do light language or anything like that. Like, I work with very practical we can talk about that, like what is light language then. But I don't work with that, because I want my clients to have grounded practical insight. And I think a lot of that is just my personal training with shamanic techniques and having that very grounded approach. But you can ask the Akashic Records anything. Like, it's, again, this like limitless field. It's the book of your life, but you can ask about, you know, if you are curious about past life connections. Like, let's say you meet someone and you feel this familiarity and you want to know, like, do I have karma with this person? Do I have a history with this person? You can go in and ask. You can ask about career. I get a lot of people asking about guidance for career and soul purpose. What patterns am I holding? Family dynamics. Ancestral past life patterns that are affecting me. Like, sometimes people are like, I'm stuck in this pattern. Like, why? Can you provide information on how to move through it? Yes. Yeah. It's truly limitless. Like, you can come in with any questions and have 100 different sessions, and they're all going to be different. For me personally, the first time I work with you, I will locate where your Akashic Records are stored. So the way that I view it is, I see it's like this wide open field of all of these different bookcases, like so many different shapes and colors and sizes. And they've showed me that it does matter where your Akashic Records are stored, because if they're stored on one particular bookcase, then typically there's a collective karma that's associated with that bookcase. And even the bookcase itself can give insight into soul purpose and, again, this bigger collective mission. And then before I even get into the client's questions, it's really important to sort of set the foundational framework of, what does your Akashic Records look like? Like, what is the texture? Like, it's so interesting. Some people have different, like, scaly textures or soft textures or wavy textures. And what's the color of your Akashic Records? Like, that also gives a lot of insight into maybe particular chakra that you're working with in this lifetime, or you're healing a certain pattern. So my guides are really adamant about sharing what the Akashic Records for that individual looks like before we even begin. And then typically I see the guides come through in this energy or vortex ball. And I've realized throughout the years of channeling that they do this so that I'm not overwhelmed by seeing a bunch of different frequencies, right? Because we can have all different types of guides. And so I've realized that they come through in this like one orb that's sort of like this formless thing, and then they'll communicate messages. So I know, like, you work a lot with the record keepers. The record keepers, whereas when I'm in the records, I work a lot with the client's specific guides, and like I receive a lot of the information from the guides themselves versus the record keepers. So that's also another facet of this discussion. So for me, the way that I
understand is like the Akashic Records is located on the 5th dimension. We live on the 3rd dimension, right? The 4th dimension is like the astral plane. It's like where spirits and past loved ones and like spirit guides usually are. It's just a little easier for us to access. It's only 1 dimension away. That's why channeling the Akashic Records is like a higher energy piece than just connecting to a spirit guide, because you're going all the way up to the 5th dimension. I feel like personally it takes up a lot of space just on the 5th dimension, and I think being on the 5th dimension, it can be in any universe or whatever. The way that we connect to psychic information usually is like through a middleman, right? It's usually like I'm asking a spirit guide, the spirit guide goes to the Akashic Records, gets the information, shares it with me, and it's filtered through like their bias. That's why we like to work with like the higher self or spirit guides or exalted ancestors, like people or beings who are intending for your highest good. And if you ask your past grandma a question versus your spirit guide, you might get a different answer for what you should do because of the bias, right? So that's kind of like how I worked. And then I found an Akashic Records reader, and I was like, this is interesting. Like, what is this? And she used it's called the Pathway Process Prayer. It's a very, like, you can Google Pathway Process Prayer. It's by Linda Howe. She is like a big name in the Akashic Records realms. Like, she's been really key for popularizing the availability of the Akashic Records, because everyone, it's your soul's room, your soul's history. Like, who has more access to that than you, the person who has the soul, right? And so that's how I connect to the Akashic Records, is by using the Pathway Process Prayer. I do the Pathway Process Prayer, plus I also do like crystal gridding, and like I feel like crystal gridding is more really how I connect, because it's like, I don't know, there's something magical, and I do this with like my meditations, anything.
Love is really good at creating the aesthetic with the crystals. Like, it's truly a gift. Like, I don't know how to do like, and for me, things look beautiful.
I feel like that's like my meditation. Like, that's how I get into the zone. I'm not consciously thinking. I just let my intuition guide me. It's like, put this here, put that there, creating balance here. And I use phantom quartz or garden quartz towers, and I put them in a triangle. And I feel like that's what sets the portal for opening the Akashic Records, because I've read, it's not popular knowledge, so I don't want to like spread disinformation, but I've read from like 1 or 2 things online that the phantom quartz or garden quartz is associated with the Akashic Records. And before I knew that, I was drawn to the phantom or garden quartz, and it's like my favorite crystal. And then I found out after, as I was like researching it more, but again, I haven't seen every source say that it is associated with the Akashic Records. So I'm like, I've
never worked with that particular crystal. I channel with angelite and a Lemurian quartz.
I use basically like all different types of quartz. So I use Lemurian quartz, I use regular quartz, I use garden quartz, I use golden healer, and like crackle quartz. So that's like my mains that I always put out in my grid. And then I have like a candle that I will use to connect to like, I usually do one for my ancestors, one for my spirit guides, or to spirit. And I leave like a little offering. I put like quarters, I put like money, like currency, like energy currency. But I light the candle also as a way to like, we're open, we're ready to go. Not that I need it to do that, but it helps, having the ritual piece. I feel like I could connect to the Akashic Records without the prayer. It's a nice piece. I feel like the closing prayer.
It's important, though, to have the container that you're setting.
Yes, it's setting the boundary for what you want. That's really what the prayer is. Yeah, it's saying like, this is what we're here to do. This is who we're connecting to. This is who we're asking to work with. And this is the intention or the energy that we're going to remain in. And then we open it. And then the closing is really important, because you don't want to leave portals open.
Exactly.
That is it'll be like Grand Central Station of energy in your home. But I feel when I do the closing prayer, that's when I feel it the most. Like opening, I don't really feel too much, but when I'm closing, I almost feel like my spine is like connected to like the Akashic Records, and then like the energy just like leaves from my spine and disconnects me, and I'm back in my human body. Like it just feels like I feel like the humanness again, like the grounding again. But yeah, so it's on the fifth dimension. Yes, there's record keepers that watch over. I do experience it similar to you. Like it is like a giant library. Yeah. Everybody has their own room. I have seen like the groupings of the souls together. I see them sort of as like a beehive type of structure. And I'm curious, like to do more, like we could ask about this. Yeah. You know, human design, there's incarnation crosses or your purpose in this lifetime, and there's only so many, and each one there's like 4 versions of it, like slightly different versions, and there are people who have personal destinies, and then there's some that have more collective destinies, and I'm curious if like those souls that maybe have the same incarnation cross in human design might be grouped similarly in the Akashic Records, because they have a similar purpose. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see.
So when you are pulling up the incarnation cross, does it show you if it's more of the personal or more of the collective?
Yeah, it does. So if you have a right angle cross, that's a personal destiny.
That's mine.
If you have a left angle cross, that is a transpersonal destiny. So right angle cross people are here to do something for themselves. No matter what they come in contact with, they will be fulfilling their destiny. Nothing will change. And they're here to create new karma in this lifetime. Left angle cross people have a transpersonal destiny. So their destiny has many intersecting lines. And whoever they come into contact with can slightly change their destiny. Like they need to have contact with others to fulfill their destiny. And they're here to clean up karma that has already been created. So people who have the left angle cross, they're like more in tune with like past lives and like the connection of like humanity and the universe and energy. And they're here to like do something that is involving other humans too. And then the third one is a juxtaposition, which it's, if you think about like left and right, it's the bridge in between the left and the right. So the juxtaposition people, their destiny is like even more influenced by, like their destiny can really greatly change based off of who they come in contact with, but they're here to bridge the gap between the personal and the collective. So there's those people are percentage wise less in like most, it's like 60% have like a right angle cross.
That's so interesting, because I've also seen in the records like there are certain bookcases that are similar and that they're held sort of throughout the dimensional field, and that could be what you're speaking to. The
juxtapositions?
Yeah, where it's like the same kind of archetypal frequency, but it's placed in different parts of the dimensional fields. And that is interesting, because if you have a personal one, like I've seen records that are stored like on the side of a cave, there is no other bookcase, like mine's stored in like, you know, like in mythology with the water and how it is portals to other realms, like that's where mine's stored, like in this like
in the ocean.
Yeah, like it's like whoop, whoop, and then it's like kind of spins up and is out. It's like not held with other.
Interesting.
But I've seen that too. Like I've seen some that are sort of like hanging on vines that are not around other people. So yeah, I think that would be an interesting thing to ask. Like if you have the left angle, and then your records are stored on this particular bookcase with this particular mission, that would make sense, because it's a part of a collective karma, versus like souls like mine, like it's a very personal mission that I'm here to do, and it is here to impact the collective, but it's like I've got to do this work.
Yeah, you can still impact others with the right angle cross. And some of them it'll say in the description like you're here to do like collective things, even though you have a personal destiny. And I think also people are grouped together, like if you're in like the soul team, like if they're part of your soul team, like maybe your mom might be next to you, or like your dad, or your sister, or your lover.
Which I've seen. I've like worked with like family members, and they're on the same bookcase or like in a similar area of the dimensional field.
Because that's like the most common, like if you're like, statistically, how do I know if I knew someone in a past life? Statistically, it would likely be at least one family member, at least, you know, like that's going to be an easy spot. But yeah, so I connect to the Akashic Records that way. When I connect to the people, it's interesting. So I do like one-on-one services where I'm just connecting to your specific records room and records. I also do group past life readings where it's like 10 people, you know, and I'm going one by one, like 20 minutes, you know, 30 minutes each person. When I do the group one, I feel like I'm in the Akashic Records, and then I feel like the people's like records rooms are kind of like floating around me. And then when the past life wants to come through, like it'll like come forward and it'll start like sharing visuals in my mind. And then when I'm doing one-on-one, I personally, like I've noticed from talking to you and like other Akashic Records readers, like my energy, because of my Virgo Mars, I think, is very direct. So it's like, just bring me there. Just show me what I need to know. So like, I don't experience like all the like opening up and like cool, you know, like all that. It's like, I'm in here. So like, I don't like walk. Some people like feel like they are brought, and then the record keepers like walk them to where the room is. That's or like show them.
For me. Like, it opens up and it's like this massive oak book, like it's literally like a size of a huge city building, and like that's like the entry point, and then the guides will like walk me through where
I feel like I'm kind of just like in Space Mountain, and I'm like like through that part, and then I'm just where I need to be. Like I just skip past that part. If I ask, I can see that, but I don't really. I'm like, I don't need to know that piece. Like my client doesn't need to know that piece right now. Maybe that's why. But so I like to work with the record keepers.
Is that disorienting for you? Because like
it's fun.
Okay,
it's like a roller coaster. It's like,
because I'm here. Like, I don't know how I would feel, because it's like you take, as a practitioner, it takes a little bit to even get sort of oriented to this. Again, it's held in another dimensional field, and so that I'm like, okay, yep, I'm here. I see the familiar big ass oak bookcase, and then it's like, okay, I'm like, then kind of settling into.
I think my energy is just like, let's go, like, you know, like sometimes I feel like it is like speeding up. Like I feel like I'm on like I often feel the sensation, and I know it's like particular to me and my brain, but I feel like I'm like in the scene where it's like, welcome to Jurassic Park, and it's like the leaves like open up and it's like, here you are, like, and you like speed up and you go into it. Like that's kind of how I feel sometimes. But I feel like if I choose how I want to feel it, I will feel it differently. Because I would get a lot of the feeling of speeding up and like going through hyperspace to like get to the person's room and being spit out there. But then like if I don't want to do that, then I don't have that experience. So it's interesting. But yeah, I've spoken to some Akashic Records readers that they see each soul's lifetime as a separate book. And then they actually will just like open the book and literally just read from the book. Like they just see the words on the book and that's it. I am more like Thailand, and I see things more, I feel things and I hear things. That's how I experience. So like it's interesting you have a similar thing to what I like to do. When I first get in there, I usually, because I've learned the Akashic Records not through like a course or anything, I just asked that Akashic Records reader, like, how do you do it? And she was like, oh, I just do a prayer. Like, you're a psychic reader, you should be able to do it. And I was like, cool. And then I just like started practicing.
I'm like over here researching.
Yeah, you took like a whole thing on how to do it. You were taught by someone. I'm like, I just was off the cuff.
But then I didn't resonate with half the stuff she was sharing. So.
That's why I just do it on my own. Because I'm like, I know I'm not gonna. For me, it was like, I'm already a professional psychic. Like, I'm already doing half of that. It shouldn't be that hard to do the rest, you know? That's how I felt. But yeah, I do see, so when I would open the Akashic Records room, I at first would see like this kind of visual of like what their records room was like, and I would describe it to them, and it turned out to be either indicative of like what that person was going through, or what their energy was during that time, or what their soul kind of is like in this lifetime, or what their soul likes. There was like a lot of stuff that was like, oh, like early on, I opened someone's Akashic Records room and it looked like an enchanted garden. And like I told the girl and she's like, I've been obsessed with enchanted gardens. Like that's my favorite, you know, like space. So it's like you can find out stuff like that. But then it has morphed into like, I now just kind of see like a representation of what their energy is right now. Yeah. And so I do like to describe that too. Yeah. Like I know you said like the guides tell you to like describe that first. I've just intuitively like been like, this is what I'm seeing. It's not related to your question, or we haven't asked any questions yet. I'm sharing with what I'm seeing. Yeah. Like I do have a client that I taught psychic and intuitive development with, and she like automatically connected to her Akashic Records without even like prompting, and she sees hers as like a fancy like dark academia like library with like a couch, and there's like a piano, and then there's like a separate door with like this other being that only is allowed to go in that door, and like stuff like that. So you can see like people do see it differently. But yeah, I'll usually see like people's energy. Like I did a Akashic Records reading this week, and like it was like a person, it was like a bird flying over like the coastline, or you know, something like that. Yeah. So you can kind of see what's going on. And then once we get in there, I started off by addressing the record keepers and asking to basically see through their perspective and through their eyes. And they're very direct because they're not human, and this is a hard concept to explain, but being a psychic reader, we connect to a lot of energy that isn't from human, and we are human, so it's like trying to translate a being that experiences feelings and morality and all these pieces differently than how we do here on earth is unique. Like it's a very like I think of it as like an overlord type of energy, where it's like, this is necessary. This suffering is necessary. And then like as a human, you're like, oh my God, like why would I do this? Why would I sign up for this? And they're like, it's for the balance. It's for whatever. Like they just see it as like neutral sort of, you know, it's like, this is just the truth and this is what's happening. And so I would get like clients like right off the cuff, like they're feeling called out because like the record keepers are like, this is your struggle. Like, this is what you need to be working on. Like, they cut right to the chase. Like,
I think that's important, though, if you are getting a reading, for the practitioner to go in and immediately start channeling. I feel like that's really important to have that just, like, initial, here are the messages from your guides right away. Yeah. And then ask the questions.
Yeah, and
you can have a client be like, oh my gosh, you just answered my question, and I didn't even ask it because...
Yeah. Yes.
Your guides had the answer waiting for you.
Mm-hmm. And like the record keepers, I see them as like sort of like alienish, like amorph, like not like androgynous. I feel like they wear like robes, but not like traditional robes. Like, interesting. What I'm seeing now is like a magenta robe, but it's like draped. It's not like a full like covering robe. I don't know. I feel like they look similar to the alien race in Star Wars that makes the clones.
I'm not super into Star Wars.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you know, well, for those who have seen Star Wars, when Obi-Wan Kenobi travels to the planet and it's like raining and Boba Fett is there, and he's checking on like the production of the clones for like the Clone Wars. Those beings, I'll show you, Thailand, so you can kind of see. It'd be interesting to see like your thoughts. Star Wars, the Venetians. Thank you for sending me that word, Venetians. Star Wars. I'm spelling it wrong. What are they? Okay, Clone Wars, Planet, Star Wars. Oh my God, every single word. Clone. Every word was so Clone Wars.
I think it
Planet.
is important though for people to know that you will encounter all types of beings in the Akashic Records, right? Like from angelic frequencies to your benevolent ancestors to power animals to elemental beings to okay, I know, I've seen that.
Yeah. The people on Camino, if you want to Google.
So essentially they just have like a really skinny long neck, and like a smaller looking face but bigger eyes, and then very tall.
Yeah. I feel like the neck is not, it doesn't need to be like exact, but I feel like it's like this androgynous, like thin, like, I don't know, like form.
It's almost like the way they would describe like the tall grays.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, kind of similar. I feel like they can change forms, and I do feel like the record keepers can be different forms, like different beings, but maybe the one I work with looks is like that. Yeah, because I'm getting that now. But yeah, so I do channel the record keepers, but I have found there are certain people that when we're in their Akashic Records room, similar to how you say like you feel like the orb of light is like everything at once, I feel that there are certain beings or guides that come through, and I just talk to that one being or guide because they're the most powerful one or the most prevalent one or the one that's going to be relevant to whatever we're going through right now. So I've had some people where I'm like asking the record keepers and like their fucking like ancestor keeps showing up and is like talking instead, and so I'm like, okay, we're gonna ask your ancestor like what they're sharing, like
I've had
in
that
this
too.
space.
It's like they come out of the orb, and it's a very particular guide.
Yes, I've had that with like deities, deities, spirit guides, ancestors. A lot of people, when I connect them to their Akashic Records, they'll see like animals or things like that. Like my client that has like the library, like she sees like this like. She doesn't see all of it. She sees like parts of it. She thinks it's like a Pegasus or something, but she can't see like the full thing. So we'll have that too, where it's like it's too intense to see all of it. So I'll talk to whoever kind of shows up in that space, and I'll communicate like who is showing up. But if it's not them, it's like either their spirit guides or their higher self or the record keepers. And then we can ask whatever questions, or we just ask like what does spirit most want to share with you right now, and that usually answers what the people are thinking about anyways. I think what you were saying, like it is important to know that you can channel all different types of things in there. You can connect to all different types of things. Many creative people are connecting to their Akashic Records without even knowing. Like that's how you channel that painting or that poem or that idea or something like that. Like I kind of feel like the Carl Jung theory that we are all part of a collective consciousness, and no one is creating original ideas. We're just like connecting to that kind of like well of ideas. I feel like he was kind of talking about the Akashic Records when he was talking about that. Like I feel like all of that is available, and then we can like pull from that.
It reminds me of the Celtic word, the Awen, which is essentially this like limitless flow of inspiration and creativity that we all have access to. And it is like this recycling of the ideas and the concepts, but making it apparent to the current time, right? Because we can have a similar idea or story from hundreds of years ago that comes through now today, but it's going to be translated in a way that we understand in our modern capacity. And I also feel like we as souls have karmic contracts to bring certain ideas and concepts through. Like I feel that very much so with my book that I've been writing, and it isn't a part of my right hand cross of the Maya, like my incarnation cross in human design. It quite literally says what I'm doing. Like it's, so that's also the interesting piece, is you can get more insight when you're in your own Akashic Records to your deeper soul mission and your deeper soul purpose of why you're here, why your soul chose to incarnate and to be here. And that's valuable.
And I think like I always try and tell people like this space is sacred, and I feel that it is a privilege to be able to connect and to have any knowledge or information presented to you. So I always kind of stress that like if you are going to connect to the Akashic Records or get a reading, like do it for a reason, right? Like I've had, not that I have this too much now, but when I first started, I had a lot of people that would book a reading and they just wanted to know like if their person was cheating on them, or like if the person that they started dating was like had good intentions for them. And I think that those are questions that we can ask with tarot or with regular psychic, you know, connection. Like that's an easy question for spirit guides to answer, like yes or no. Also, PS, like if you're paying money to find out if your partner is cheating on you, it's because you already know. Most of the time, intuitively, they know and they just want confirmation.
But even with like tarot and astrology, I think about it like I am coming to this great sacred temple. Like I'm like communing with the great oracle. Like with any of these divination practices, personally, like I just have like a great respect, and I do think about it like I'm okay. My time I'm spending in the Akashic Records, the time I'm spending with tarot, the time I'm spending with someone's astrology chart is a sacred experience, and I'm holding that in a container. So I think that that's also...
Yeah, I think all of it is sacred and should be taken seriously. But I feel like to pay for an Akashic Records reading or to connect to Akashic Records is like so energetically intense. To ask a question like that, like we could answer that with less energy, I feel. It's like, you know, like you're here where you could...
Well, also your guides might not even want to answer. Like I've experienced that too, where they're very vague and they're very symbolic, right? Like the tarot is very blunt, in my opinion, and will tell you like
that's what I feel.
Yes
that's
or no,
what I mean.
Whereas the Akashic Records will give you like all these different symbols and then feelings and emotions related to the symbol, and then you're, as the reader, translating what you're experiencing, and it a lot of times isn't clear, like whereas tarot can be very blunt, straightforward, clear as the answer. Like I've had people ask on the Akashic Records, should I move here, and they'll share beautiful information for both places, and then they end up more confused, right? Because I think the Akashic Records at the end of the day is always a huge advocate for our free will and our choice as humans. I don't know if you've experienced that.
I actually feel like my psychic information is way more direct and straightforward in the Akashic Records. Like I feel like I get like way more in-depth and direct answers from people. I feel like I think it's interesting. I think the reason why we're having these experiences is our own internal bias. Because I feel like with tarot, there's a part of me that's like, oh, like, am I interpreting this correctly? They want like a yes or no answer. There's so much like writing on this. And then like in the Akashic Records, it's like I fully trust that like I'm channeling and I'm not really, it's less of my bias. I'm just channeling the information. So it's more direct and it's more straightforward, and it's more like you get way more out of it, I feel. Where for you, it's like you might have your internal bias of like you want the best for your client, you want it to be positive, and so you're like getting positives.
They've said very like
negative stuff.
Yeah, well, they'll be like, this person isn't for you, or like,
well, that's direct. I feel like that's direct.
It is, but you know what I'm saying though. Like sometimes they can communicate with all of the symbols, and I do feel like there's a lot of practical integrated wisdom from that, but it can be more confusing sometimes when they give you more so options. Much insight.
And what they're saying so what they're saying with tarot is like it's forcing all of that information through just 72 cards. So it is more direct. It's like you got to pick a card, you got to funnel it through a card, and the card has to make sense versus like when you're in there, it's like all the things, everything, every of the feelings and the things could be available, and so then your job as a reader is like, how do I interpret that so it makes sense for my client? I definitely think so. Like I do agree. Like there is a lot more symbolism. Like when I see people's energy, it's like a shape or a color or an energy or a movement or a pattern. Like they'll show me like patterns like this, and I'm like, that means you're in this like up and down cycle, you know, but that's what the visual they're showing me. Although I feel like sometimes when I am channeling, especially the record keepers, not really for other people's like beings that show up, it's like they're just directly speaking, and that's why it feels so intense and straightforward, because I'm not seeing a visual and then trying to explain the visual to you. I'm just communicating like whatever they're telling me. I'm just sharing it, so it is more direct. But
I don't have that. It's like it's a lot of the clairsentience, the feeling piece, and then the visuals. So then navigating how to communicate the most aligned messages for whatever the imagery that they're giving me. But sometimes it is fast. Like I open some clients' records, and they're just coming through like hot with things like
yes.
And it is interesting as someone who channels that I'm not someone who completely leaves my body. Like, I'm very grounded in the process, and I think a lot of that is I guide people to connect with the earth again. Earth is the portal. So I remember what I'm channeling. Like, I know some people channel and they like are
they're gone.
Completely.
Yeah. My mentor channels like that, and I want to like get to that point. It's a trust piece of like letting some other being like operate your body. Because when she described it, she was like
that.
she describes it as like she kind of takes like her consciousness and she goes like over here, and then she lets like she channels aliens, and then she lets the alien like come into her consciousness and like speak through her, and her face changes, the way she talks changes, like you can tell like it's not her. I've only done that one time, actually 2 times. I've done it 2 times. One was in a reading where I connected to someone's ancestor who was like a powerful like gypsy healer, and she used her power to jump into me. Like, it wasn't like my choice, and she did it like very quickly. She only jumped into my throat, and she like said what she needed to say, and then she left. I felt it. And then I was like, I yelled at the client. I was like, cause she was asking like, should I like connect to my abilities? And it was like, you need to connect to them. They're your birthright. And then I was like, sorry, I yelled at you. I feel like she just jumped into my throat. And then she was like, oh, she always talks to me like that. And I was like, okay, just channel your like great grandma or whatever, but cool. And then the other time I did it was at my ancestral connection circle. I channeled like the collective ancestors, or like the exalted ancestors. And I have it video, like I recorded it. I started like halfway through, I noticed I was speaking in a different cadence, and I was using different words than I would normally ever use in my meditations. And like I was saying like, you will experience this. It will feel intense. Do not worry. Keep going. And I was like, I would never say that in a meditation, like to tell people it's going to be hard for them and intense. Like, I try and ease them into it. And yeah, it was really, really cool. But I want to get to that point where I am able to channel and just like be gone.
Maybe we'll do a whole episode when you're ready to get to that point.
Channel. Yeah. I've also channeled like, my friend was like, oh, I want you to get like really high and see like what your psychic abilities are like, if they're more, because they're more like into like more connected when I'm high. And I was like channeling her dreams. Like, it was crazy. Like, I was seeing so many things. Like, it felt like I was in this like higher space and like in space, and I was like, I'm seeing this, I'm feeling this, I'm seeing. She was like, I dreamt that. And I was like, whoa, okay, like, what? Like, I was seeing, like, her soul, like, her higher self, and how, like, she like, it was crazy. So
that's interesting.
That was really cool, but
I don't like to personally be on any substance if I'm doing any kind of spiritual work. Like, I have refrained from that, so it'd be interesting experiment to...
Yeah, like, that was, like, for fun. I don't, like, normally, like, oh, I have a client, let me smoke or something. Like, I'm not normally doing that. Like, that is not the case. Yeah, so...
But an interesting experiment. Now I'm kind of curious, like...
Well, yeah, because we take, like, it's, like, weird. I feel like it's colonial ideologies. Yeah. It's, like, alcohol and drugs are bad for when doing spiritual stuff, but then, like, the same people who say that pay like $4,000 to fly to fucking like Mexico and to do ayahuasca. Like, it's the same concept.
It's a substance.
Yeah, it's a psychedelic substance, a psychoactive substance. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, I'm doing it in my healing and it's helping me connect to this, and I saw this and I had this experience. And I'm like, but you're demonizing people for like drinking alcohol and then doing a tarot reading. Like, it's just weird to me. Yeah. It's super weird.
That was one of the rules when I did my training for the Akashic Records of don't be on substances, opening the Akashic Records. So I haven't really ever been on substances.
I'll tell you, there is merit to it. Yeah. The reason being, it's like when you're on a substance, your your inhibitions, your higher level thinking brain kind of gets out of the way. So it can be easier to connect. There are certain cultures, like I know African culture, in like certain sacred rituals, they take a shot before they do it because they're trying to open up more and connect more.
Yeah.
But when you are in that state where you're more open, you're more vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so like you can connect to more things or feel more things or interact with things that you might not intend to interact, or it might be an open invitation for things to come in.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of people who struggle with addiction, they can have like demons, right? Because their energy is consistently not in a form of consent, a form of being in their power and what their boundaries are. And so they're just energetically more vulnerable and open for negative energies to attach to them and to be around in their field and take advantage of them when they're in that state. So that there is merit to it.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't normally do it, because it is a little bit more of a risk to do it. It's a case by case, like you decide your own, what you feel comfortable with.
I would just be curious.
Yeah, that's why I did it like with my friend. Like I don't care, like I'm crazy like that, but
yeah, just to see. I mean, we're rule breakers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a recovering rule follower, because my Mars in Virgo is very rule follower. Like I'm like, my partner also has Mars in Virgo, so we're like little goody two shoes. Like we don't do like, I've done like bad stuff before, but like we don't normally do like stuff like that. And then we'll like talk to some people and they're like, oh yeah, I did that. And I'm like, you just do that? You just like break the law like that? Like, okay, like I'm scared, you know? Like, so I have to like challenge myself, because I have all that Sagittarius energy that's like, just go for it, like fuck it, you know? So it's funny. It's a pendulum.
Another like ethical piece is they say don't open the records for anyone under the age of 18, or like babies, pets, people that aren't able to like advocate and communicate for themselves.
The consent, yeah.
The consent piece.
I don't know how I feel about the under 18 one. I feel like it is kind of weird. Like I've had like a person be like, oh, I want my kid to have a reading with you. I feel like if they're able to understand and they're able to say that they want to do it and they're interested in it, then that can be something to be explored. But I feel like it's weird when people like, they want to push that on someone who's younger that doesn't really care or like isn't interested. Like then it's kind of weird.
Because I've also read astrology chart. Like I had
for like babies and
one
stuff.
who she was a teenager. She was like 14 or something. She brought her daughter in and we did an astrology reading, and I feel like that was beautiful. Like to have that information be given to her while her mom was present. Like I wasn't just in the room with her alone.
Because I've done human design and astrology readings for people, for parents, for their children when they're young, because I like to think of it as like we're looking at your kid and we're using it as a parenting tool. So when I'm doing,
that's important. Yeah. And so maybe that's something also we can look at of like, is it all that bad to look at your records for, you know, and see if there's certain questions, or if you're having difficulties with behavioral issues, like what's the root cause of that? And like these are definitely topics that I'm not like super strict in. Like I'm willing to.
I think there is consent. I think when you're a parent, you obviously have a little bit more consent to like, you know, look at the astrology chart of your kid if you want to use it for like parenting and things like that. But yeah, I do think it's like very situational. It's like I wouldn't want to just do it just because, like, let's say they're like, you know, like someone, it's their aunt or something, and they're like, oh, my nephew is like acting out. Like, I want to look into his records. Like, that's kind of sus for me, like ethically.
Yeah.
But maybe if the parent is like, oh, my kid is interested in learning more about themselves. But I also feel like the issue with the under 18-year-old is how you don't know what will come up in the Akashic Records. Yeah. And let's say they had a past life where they were like killed really brutally or something, or some sexual abuse or something. Like I wouldn't want to, like, I wouldn't know like what is the parents' parenting style and what they're into, and is the kid mentally and emotionally ready to receive that.
Akashic Records, in my experience, they will only show you what you are ready to receive into your consciousness. Like it is a protected field, and if I have an imprint of something like that happening, the guides will sort of let me know, but they won't give me any more details. Like, I'm
That's
not
true.
able to drop into that life and see all the horrific details.
Yeah, they might just be like, something really traumatic happened in that lifetime, and then that's
and then
all
just
you know.
brush over it. And because that's all you need to know. Or
that does happen, where it's like sometimes we're asking about stuff, and like you said, they'll tell you what they feel is necessary, and they might be like, you don't need to know that. Like, why are you asking about that? That's irrelevant to the point, or whatever it is. Like, stop trying to focus on this thing. Like, where your work is this thing, you know? Like,
exactly. They like to reorient it, and that's exactly why I kind of said that they're very symbolic and very poetic in the way that they communicate. Like, it's just very sweet in the Akashic Records to me.
That's all you. It's also your Pisces piece.
It's also like they do communicate things that you might not want to hear.
Yes.
Like, if they're telling me about the energy of, if you're coming in and you're asking about, oh, like, I think I might have a connection with this person, and then your guides are pretty much saying, like, this is not the person for you because of this, and this. Like, obviously, as a reader, like, it doesn't feel good for me to give someone, like, information that they don't necessarily want to hear, but also it's not ethical for me to not share it when the guides are...
If you get it, you're supposed to share it.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why I just like to have context, like, this is why they're saying this, like, this, if it's not obvious, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, you can look into past lives, you can look into patterns, ancestral, any other connections, gifts you've had from the past, wounds you've had from the past, what your path is in this lifetime, what stuff you're carrying, what cycle you're in, what challenges, like what advice to move through or to achieve whatever goal or thing that you want in your life. And then, the future, like, I'm able to connect to the future and see, like, the probability of, like, these things running out and working out for you, or, like, just what will happen in the future. Like, when is this going to come? Or, like, is this open or available to me, or different things like that. But yeah, you still have free will anyways. So, like, I've given readings to people and told them, like, don't do this, and then they still decide to do it. It's their choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you can even do, like, healing in the Akashic Records.
That happens a lot. Like, the guides will just do their own healing ceremony.
Yeah. Like, they just are present, and you let them kind of do what they need to do. Like, your soul, especially with past lives, it's like your soul might be, like, done. I've done some energy healing where I've worked in the Akashic Records. I know you've done the same too, where we can, like, help just, like, end that pattern or that cycle because it's ready to be ended, and you just we're doing it in the Akashic. Or the guides kind of just... I feel like, I get this intuitive, like, we're inviting the guides in, and, like, I'm just, like, letting them do what they need to do. I'm not really
that happens a lot, actually.
Yeah.
They do their own
in the energy healing.
If it needs to occur, not every time.
Yeah, so you can do that. I know people that, like, meditate and spend time in their Akashic Records room. Like, it's your room, so, like, you can change it, you can be familiar with it, you can create in it and all that kind of stuff. It's a really cool, like space. It's a really cool place. I'm biased, obviously. But it's so interesting how all of this stuff is available to you, and we don't even know. The other fun fact that I like is that they say that whales are the record keepers on Earth. Power animals. Yeah. And that made a lot of sense to me. Yeah, it's a specific kind of whale. Yeah. It made a lot of sense to me, and it's like we're always so fascinated with their songs and, like, how they, you know, I'm like, there's something in here that's Akashic for sure.
Yeah.
Also,
and many healers and readers have seen a big blue whale energy in my field too, so it's confirmation of, like, look, this is one of my power animals.
Yeah.
On the west in my medicine wheel.
Yeah.
Which we'll do a whole episode on that too. Like,
because I don't know too much about that, so that'll be cool.
Yeah.
So it's really, really a cool space. There's so many different things, so many ways to experience it. It's limitless and endless.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have any questions that
let us know.
Put it in the comments in the Spotify or Apple Podcasts and stuff. Follow us on our social media. We're on TikTok and on Instagram and YouTube. So you can put comments there, questions there. If you have further comments, like, as you're listening and you're like, wait a minute, I want to know about this. Like, what about this? Even if it's really specific, you know, like, that's okay.
We love to answer.
We didn't really talk a lot about karmic contracts that much, so that's something people are so into and so concerned with. But yeah,
that's a whole episode in and of itself.
It is.
We got to bring in Saturn for that one.
So that's like a big piece, but yeah, like anything that comes through, don't, whatever question you have, shoot your shot. Like, don't be like, oh, I want to ask, but is it okay? Like, that's a stupid question. No stupid questions when we're learning. It's just, if that's what, especially for me, like being neurodivergent, I learned that with ADHD, their brain can get stuck on being able to move forward and being able to process because they need certain information to move forward. So if you feel like your question is like stupid, or easy, but it just doesn't make sense to you, that's okay, because that might be that block that's like stopping you from like continuing to process the information. So just go ahead and ask that, and advocate in your real life to ask for that when you need it. But yeah, so ask those questions. We're still building, we're still a new podcast, so we'd love it if you could leave a review on any platform that you listen to that allows you to leave a review. If you could share us with 3 to 5 people in your life, or share our podcast to your story on social media. We post clips all the time, so you can share the clips.
That'd be really helpful.
Engaging in our content is going to be super helpful. Subscribing or following us on whatever platform is also really helpful. And yeah, we want this to feel like a collaborative community, where we're all contributing and being a part of the knowledge and the lessons and the fun and all the things. So yeah, definitely do on any and all of those that you feel called to in whatever time that works for you. And we're like super grateful for that. So thank you. So grateful. Yeah.
Well, thanks for seeing into Source with us.
Sorry.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Source Seers. We can't wait to hear your take on all the magic we talked about.
Follow Source Seers on IG and all other platforms to let us know your thoughts and get involved in our community.
You can also follow Love at Love Sakratoff on all the platforms.
And Tylen at Tylen McKenzie, or go to my website, templeradiance.com.
We'd love it if you could leave us a review on Spotify, Google, or Apple Podcasts, and share Source Seers with anyone you feel might benefit from magical community right now. Hail Jupiter!
Thanks for seeing into Source with us.
Bye!